Hello, lovely people. I'm Sinead, and welcome. Today is one of those days where I really wish we could have the live exchange where I ask you what you want to see me do, and then we move on from there because I can't decide. Uh, but I did want to share that I won the battle with the knitting, and not only did I get this dress completely finished without any mistakes, I altered the sleeves to make them go into the arm's eye more smoothly. They were kind of needing to be eased in before, and now they don't have to be. They just kind of go right in, and it's a much better fit. And I think that it didn't lose any of the poofy personality of the sleeve in the process, which that was my goal. And I have started on another iteration in which, so we're already that far into it, in which I will be doing the crocheted trim so that I can document that, make sure I've got that all right. I mean, I can look back at what I did before, but that's only kind of a guess. This is a confirmation. So reading the old work so that you can try and repeat it I do that a lot, but this time, I'm trying to write it down and make sure that it's clear so that you can use it. And I'm hoping that this will all go quickly. After I had that little fight with not being able to move forward in the knitting and do it where I kept making mistakes, I don't know, there was just kind of a shift, and everything from there on out went great. So, and this has started out great. So I'm hoping that we're in a really productive, can move forward and check everything and do it easily. And instead of having the fight, I have worked on my Kestner's hands and feet this week. And that was another one of those things where I had it to a point where I felt like it was finished. It was nice and it was neat and it was smooth, and the legs looked like they matched and the hands looked pretty much like they matched. And I was like, but this is not the level of detail that I wanted. I'm stopping here because it looks good and I don't want to mess it up. But I was like, you can start over. It's okay to start over. Move forward, continue on, try and get the level of detail that you want. And I'm not going for massive detail. I just want a little bit of detail. Kind of like fingernail divots and all things that I did on Granny's hands that I just kind of wanted to do on this hand, which is much smaller, just to prove to myself that I could, and because I like that level of detail. The doll body that I have said before that I really like, it's a French reproduction type design. Her hands are really simple, splayed fingers, and at first I thought that's exactly what I was going to do, was something like that. But then I decided that no, I needed to do something more akin to what I did the first time when I was much younger, and I made her Play-Doh hands and Play-Doh feet because that was the only clay I had. So I wanted to do that, but more with a little more skill. So a nod to that, but with a little more skill. And I wanted there to be the indication of toes, which I didn't have, the indication of fingers and fingernails. And so I feel like I've gotten there. They are going to need to be sanded again. And hopefully they'll be ready for paint, which is what I've been waiting on to finish that, to go back and redo the paint on the patch. Is I wanted the hands, feet, and patch on her head to all be done in the same color. And the other choice thing to work on today is the patch pockets. I kept arguing with myself over these black patch pockets, which have gotten all wrinkledy. The silk I kind of felt like was too thin, and I was going to just do it anyway. And then I thought, you're going to put the effort into it and the pocket's going to wear through faster than you want it to. And why don't you just go find something to line it with? And I have black linen, and that's actually the perfect thing. And it's going to make the work on this much easier because I can sew the linen and the silk together in like a pillow fashion, so that I then turn it right side out and all the raw edges are on the inside, and then patch pocket it. That at that point I don't have to worry about raw edges. I didn't have to double fold. I didn't have to do any of the things that you need to do to make the pocket not constantly losing bits of frayed material. So there's that project. And I kind of am leaning towards that rather than the knitting, but like the black is not going to show real well, and it is machine work. So I'm going to think on that for a minute and we'll turn the camera around and we'll see what I'm doing. I guess I really want to move forward on this doll. This is the Kessner that belonged to my grandmother's older sister. I have named the doll after that older sister, Della, but at the time when I got the doll, I wasn't sure if it was Della or Clara who owned the doll. I have since done research about the family at the time and really kind of dug into who was what age and all of that, and found out that Della was about 4 years old in 1908 and when this doll came out, and Clara was only 2. And they were, it was the year approximately that my great-grandfather married my great-grandmother. She was a widow and had lost her son and husband to, I believe, influenza, but I'm not 100% on that. And was remarrying, and he, I think, gave the doll to Della as kind of you know, that gift you give to the kid when you're trying to woo her because you're marrying her mother. And so I'm gonna move Della, Clara. And I also thought that she's got a rather long name. So my grandmother's name was Gola Rosina, and it was all one word. It was not 2 names. I always thought it was 2 names until I saw it on the census records. They wrote it down as all one name. And I mean, that's not a guarantee, but that's what they called her. They called her the whole thing. When she was older, she went by Rose. Dropped the whole Gola thing. And when I asked her what, you know, the origins of Gola and why Gola, she couldn't tell me, really. She just said her parents liked flowers, and Gola's not a flower. So I don't know where that one was coming from. That's one of the mysteries, I guess, of, maybe she probably didn't know. She probably didn't know. Didn't ask. Some things family just doesn't talk about. And that family, when I knew them, they were wonderful. They were really good to all of us. And, you know, just embracing the whole family and all of that. My dad's cousin, when I was growing up, I had more contact with him than with the rest of the family. Like, I knew Aunt Clara, but I don't remember meeting Great Aunt Della. I remember some other aunts. There was an Aunt Irene, and I think actually Aunt Irene's older than my grandmother, and then there are younger siblings, and so I knew them, but it's one of those things that, you know, like, they're really sweet human beings when you know them, and they're all elderly and all of that. And then you find out that great-grandfather, which I never met him, wasn't a very nice man. I mean, he was, okay, he was probably a very nice man with his own family, but he was very strict, very strict. But he was very racist. And interestingly enough, my grandmother did not hold with any of that. She thought that was all wrong. And that says something. She didn't carry it on, and she let it be known that she didn't agree. Getting in here is really not easy, so we're going to let that go for right now. I think I need another tool. But I don't know if you can see the detail there. I've tried to give the little bit of the pad to the hand and to the thumb base and the ball of the hand. Do you call that the ball of the hand? Just thinking about that, I don't think you do, but it is that area that's just like on your foot. And it has a little bit of a raised area. And the fingernail indications. Anyway, I'm telling stories. So he would say things like, you can't walk on the sidewalk with black people. You can't go there because there's going to be black people there. And Arkansas, where they lived, was extremely racist. And as far as I know, they still are. I mean, the funeral home is still segregated. And I only know this because my cousin married a black man, and her mother-in-law couldn't be buried, or the funeral home wouldn't take her. She had to go to the other funeral home, the black funeral home. So this I find disgusting. I don't kind of find it disgusting. I find it very disgusting that is still going on, and that is being endorsed in this day and age is awful. But that he was that kind of man. He endorsed that. And so it's part of my history that I'm glad that my grandmother wasn't that way. I'm glad I'm not that way. That we both, said, they may think that way, but I don't agree. And that's something we all have to come to grips with, is that, there are people in your past, your ancestors and stuff, who did things that weren't nice, did things that were horrific. I have relatives that were slave owners, and that's on my mother's side of the family, and they were horrific, absolutely horrific individuals. They were so bad that their slaves poisoned or killed them. They put glass in their dinner and killed off everybody that was living there at the time. And the only reason why we have an ancestor is because he wasn't living there at the time. Otherwise, that family would have just stopped right there. And I can't say whether that's good or bad. I mean, I'm here, and would I have been a different person? Would I have be who I am now if he had been killed in that? I don't know. I don't like knowing that that's part of my ancestry, but it is. But I also have, on my mother's side of the family, a former slave that she remembered walking the Trail of Tears. So she was owned by the Cherokee, always claimed herself to be part of the tribe. And when, after emancipation, she was light-skinned enough that she moved to another state and claimed to be white. And told everybody that she had a little bit of a tan because she was Cherokee. And that was so commonplace. And a lot of the people who claim Cherokee ancestry were actually owned by, if they check their DNA and they don't find any native, it's pretty good likelihood that they were owned, because the Cherokee did for a while, and the Choctaw, they had a whole different view on slavery, and they granted tribal membership until the U.S. government put pressure on them to renege on that. They said you won't be recognized, you won't get these voting rights. They basically bribed them to remove those privileges. Okay, I'm going to change gears here. One of the things about the way that I built up this paper clay is like, you know, I'd let it dry and then I'd add more. Sometimes it doesn't meld in really well. The fibers are somehow dry, but they're in a pocket to where they're dry. And I'm wondering if that's what's going on here. I'm going to have to get a magnifying glass out and double check it. But when that happens, if you find yourself with a papery dry section that is staying fuzzy, you can kind of drill it out or take it out with a craft knife and replace it with wet paper clay and blend it in. And you make sure that you get the area around it wet first, just like when adding more paper clay. You just replace that dried out section that doesn't want to, well, it's basically dry paper and it's fuzzy and it won't blend. And now I've derailed myself with that. And let's look at a foot for a while. So there you go, a bit of very complicated history in which what my takeaway on this is that you are not your ancestors. You do gain a lot from them in the way that they, you know, their trauma, they pass it down. Oh my gosh, do they pass it down? And their attitudes sometimes get passed down, but you do not have to keep them. You find that those attitudes are not working for you. And I do hope that if you have prejudicial attitudes passed down in your family, that you find that it does not work for you and that you let that one go and become a better person. I am probably 85% European, you know, mostly England and Ireland and Wales, the UK, with a smattering of very low percentages of a whole lot of the global majority out there. There is Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese, and these are all in tiny little percentages, and not to where, you know, how much of that really makes up who you are, but it's fascinating to me that it's there. That part of my, you know, at some point in my family's history, they were accepting of someone with darker skin, whereas, you know, you come along and you find areas where they were completely against anybody with darker skin. And of course there's the black from the that one came out of the Caribbean, and which is, or Caribbean, whichever way you want to say that one, which was through the slave trade. And French is part of the European, though. Let's see, Peruvian, that's it, Mexican, and memory's a little foggy on the rest, but so like I said, they're just tiny little percentages. And oh, right, the Ukrainian Jewish, which is European, but Jewish. And that one is interesting because on Ancestry.com it was there, and then it was not there. And you're just like, and which direction did you lump it? Which way did you go? And I've had 2 different DNA tests done, and the Ancestry.com does more updates for free, where they just update what's the scientific research and stuff, but their initial test results they don't go that deep, they don't go that far back. And I had one done that goes to the haplogroup, that goes way back, you know, like ancient prehistory, according to theories. These are all theories. This is the stuff that has been, you know, gathered, the information gathered through archaeology and the movement of human beings, and, you know, so it's all theoretical. All of it is. And that one, of course, doesn't update without me paying. And I would love to know where they're going, because theirs was so much more in depth on where you come from and what, you know, the origins and whatnot. It was also a lot more private. They don't do the matching you to your relatives thing, which allows you some privacy in your information not being shared. And that was, it's CRI, cryogenetics. Anyway, crafting. Now you know what I've been thinking about lately. I have been looking at that's another interesting thing. I've been looking at the history of my family, but at the same time, I don't have a relationship with my parents because of how they treat me. They are very condescending and judgmental and very unaccepting of my life, every decision I've ever made. So I don't have a relationship with them. They are also racist. They somehow hung on to that racism. And if you've noticed, Joey's brown. And I can't tolerate that at all in someone who's going to have contact with us. It's just not okay. So, welcome to my TED Talk. Is that what you say after you've gone on and on about things like this? Oh my gosh. I'm going to just say that I hope that you enjoyed or got something out of this ramble, that don't let your genetic heritage drag you down. It's not who you are. It doesn't have to define you. It can enhance who you are, but it does not have to define you. And I hope that you have a delightful day and a wonderful week. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.